Several speakers use this platform for personal attacks, for vitriol, and for pontification. Now, I was advised that I should perhaps not even dignify some of the comments that were made with any form of response, and particularly what Honorable Lekota had to say. But against that advice, I decided that let me rather set the record straight. Honorable Lekota is correct in saying we were detained in the same trial event in 1974. Then I was 21 and a couple of months old. I was a student at the University of the North. I had then been elected the chairman, as we used to call it those days, of the South African Students' Organization branch, with Steve Biko and others, Bani Pichana and others, Herine Ngwekuru, and many others being the gigantic leaders of SASO at the time. And we got involved through a call that had been made to organize pro-Frelimo rallies. The chairperson of the Students' Representative Council, Sidibe, who was the president rather of the SRC, got deeply immersed in this, and so did a number of us. And following the pro-Frelimo rallies that we held, the then government decided to conduct a swoop on all of us. Now, my arrest was quite dramatic because Sidibe, the president of the SRC, had been arrested, and he had, we decided to march on the Mankweng police station, which Honorable Malema will be most familiar with. We marched on that police station as a student body, and during that march, the SRC went in and some of us stayed outside. And they then decided that they wanted to have me arrested. They then said, call Ramaphosa in because he can shed light on whatever. And the SRC members, without knowing that this was going to happen, called me in, and as soon as I sat down, they said, you cannot leave now. Ramaphosa is now under arrest. And I was arrested, transported to Pretoria Central Prison, where I was in solitary confinement for a solid 6 months before anyone came to talk to me. And at the time, my father was a policeman. He was a police sergeant, and through his efforts, I finally got to see him, and he explained to me that, well, they say, they've got a lot of things against you and all that. What did you do? And I explained to him. He said, my son, I understand. Then later they started interrogating me, which was quite vicious. I will not go into that. And the issue that they really wanted from me was to give evidence against accused number 1, Seth Cooper, Muntu Mieza, accused number 2, Tera Lekota, accused number 3, and a number of others. And I refused. And they thought they would use my dad to put pressure on me to agree to become a state witness. I refused. I said, I will not do it. Then I was taken. I was taken to Silverton police station. And when I got there, my neighbor in the adjacent cell was another detainee, whose name I am not going to disclose because something horrible happened to him. And they had been working on him to also become a state witness. And he then, through talking through the wall, told me that he has finally agreed to become a state witness. And then I realized why I had been taken to Silverton. My dad came to visit me, and he said, they want you to be a state witness. And I said, Dad, I am not going to do it. I will never betray the comrades that I was working with. And if I did, where will I go and live thereafter? I refused. Now, having refused, my neighbor then went and gave evidence. He gave evidence against Lekota and all of them. And as I persisted in my refusal to give evidence, they let me go, but they brought me back and said, we still want you to give evidence. And I persisted in refusing. He gave evidence, the trial went on, it ended, and they were sentenced. And then I was released. Now, you know, when you deal with police, security police, there are three things that they want from you. It's either you cooperate with them, you give evidence against your comrades, or you become an askari and go and kill your comrades, or you become a paid agent. I did not do any of the three things that they wanted. Not at all. Not at all. And when they released me for the last time, they then said, we want you to work with us. And I still remember who it was. It was Major Haystack. He said, we want you to work with us. And I said, I will never agree to work with you and betray my people. And they said, we will come back to you. The uprising in '76, after my spell of detention, I then joined the Black People's Convention because university would not take me back. So I joined the BPC, which was a Black consciousness-oriented organization like SASO, and we continued with the struggle. '76 happens, and on the very day the uprising happened, a knock at 3 o'clock at my father's home sounded on the door, and interestingly, there was a comrade of mine who was later killed by the Venda police. His name was Chifiwa Muope. We were friends at high school, and he had come to visit me. And on the 16th, they found him sleeping with me in the dining room. They arrested both of us, and he looked so much like Tsietsi Mashinini. And they immediately said, we've got Tsietsi Mashinini who was leading the uprising. They took me to John Foster Square, where I was for another 6 months. And interestingly, Lekota, when I got into the cell, I told myself that I am now here for 5 years. Because earlier they had been threatening me with a 5-year, 10-year jail sentence. And I persisted in refusing to give evidence. And they said, you're going to be like Nelson Mandela, you're going to break rocks on Robben Island. I said, in the end, I would rather go and break rocks, and I will never, ever betray my people. And my father supported me in all this, notwithstanding the fact that he was a police sergeant in the South African police of the time. He supported me. And after I was detained in '76, I was finally released without any charge being preferred to me or against me. Chipiwa Muope was later released because they found that Chipiwa Muope was not Tsietsi Mashinini, and in the end, he was later once detained again and killed by the Venda police.